Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to all our international customers from the Caribbean and Latin America. It's great having you all. Today, we will be giving a presentation on AquaStar products, as you can see on your screen there. And giving the presentation today, we're honored to have Mr. Brian Chrisan, who is the National Technical Sales Manager at AquaStar. So Brian's been in the industry for over 20 years now. So he comes with a wealth of experience. He's a CPO instructor, and he's done a lot of trainings at trade shows as well, which is awesome. He started at AquaStar in July this year, and he was hired for both sales and technical purposes. So without any further ado, take it away, Brian.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for everybody being on this. I understand and recognize everybody's busy in the pool industry. So to take some time out to learn about our products, AquaStar thanks you. I thank you as a trainer for a while, for a long time, is going to trade shows and learning. I appreciate it on a personal level, and to let me hopefully not bore you all too much for the next 45 minutes or so, and taking time out and learning what we do and what we have. So first of all, so any questions that'll pop up, please raise your hand, and I can stop at any point so I don't forget or you forget when we're on a product. So just raise that hand, and we can answer those questions as we go. One of the first things I want to do is kind of give you a background, and thank you, Greg. I've been doing this 20 years. When I look back at this and go, I don't know where 20 years went, but definitely. And I came on to AquaStar a year ago. I've been in the industry. I had my own company for about 14 years and about 13 years, and then switched over to one of the big three in the industry for the last 8 years on automation and sales and training, and getting products to the field. And then last year coming on with AquaStar in a national technical sales position, as Greg mentioned. So I get the fun of running around the country and helping everybody out, our sales teams, our technical teams, our engineering teams, the field applications. So I go out in the field, find out what's going on, and bring it back, and we improve our products and do things and make changes for people and just come up with new stuff as we're doing. So AquaStar, to back up, has been around for about 20 years. And we started in the injection molding company business, which is what we do. And we started with main drains when Virginia Graham Baker Act took place in 2000. I'm going to age myself, I think 2007. We, with main drains and US requirements and federal requirements, that's when AquaStar took off. And we were one of the only companies that can follow and make and set the standards really in the industry. Steve Barnes, our science and compliance director here at AquaStar, has been in the business for 40 years. He's proud to wear that cap. And he is on very many boards in the industry and standards compliance boards, and works with the government to set the standards with VGB, with drain covers. And since we are an injection molding company, we make our own drain covers, and we also are able to stamp our own drains with the National Science Foundation stamp, so they know how we are. We have a $3 million testing facility for drains, skimmers, fittings, and we make everything in the United States. All of our raw goods come from US materials and suppliers, down to our screws, our things that we don't press out. One of the good things with AquaStar is we are very horizontally built. So we have sections of factory that we can put a mold together. We make our own molds to make our own injection molding, to make our own parts. We've literally made pens and just things on our own. There's things that we can do that others can't, and we are vertically aligned. So if we need to press out more pumps, we can bring a line on within 24 hours that is already ready to go and start pressing these out. So being a private company, not a corporate company, it makes it very easy for us to do what we want to do. And Olaf, our owner, has been doing this a long time. So we also make a lot of products for a lot of competitors in the industry because of our quality and what we do. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is not only do we make stuff for ourselves, but we make competitors' products to make everybody safe because they know our quality and what we do. So with that, again, if there's any questions, please stop and I can answer them as we go. And we can make this work. And if there's anything that you guys don't hear or see, just let me know. So we got the AquaStar products. We have some new products that have come out over the years. You can see our drains, our pump. I have here on our new pump design, if you can see here, our old pump design, which is still out in the market and still being shipped. And we are now starting to ship our new design. If you notice the base down here, we are actually including a wrench that takes the drain cover off. We did that because our owner scraped his knuckles on the cement taking the drain cover off, and he said we need to have a tool. So we made a tool last year and integrated it into the new base that we have, which this was a cover. So we made this cover and all this exposed. And our other products, our valves and our actuators and everything that we introduced in the last few months with our lifetime warranty. So we're proud of these. These valves and actuators are taking off really fast right now in the industry because of cost efficiencies that we have against our competitors and our lifetime warranty with those, which nobody ever has. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into, we're going to do the filters, and then we'll do the pumps, and then we'll get into the ozone a little bit. And again, anytime there's any questions, please stop me so I can answer them for you. I know the markets are different overseas. I know you folks use a lot of sand filters. Here in the United States, there are counties and cities that are starting to, I don't want to say outlaw, but regulate push, pull, and backwash type filters, DE, and sand filters because of water waste. So that's why we stuck into and got into the cartridge market, because there's less water being wasted in order to clean these. So that's where we started, and that's where we've gone with our pumps and variable speed pumps. So our filters, we have two sizes. See, everything's made in the US. The two sizes are our 27,000. That's about 38 inches high. And we have our 35,000, and I'll explain what those numbers mean. And that's about 40 inches high for height. And those are the two filters we have. One of the big things that AquaStar deals with is safety. We're doing safety on drain covers. We're doing safety on our pumps and filters. We're doing safety on our other items that we have. That's where we start, is how do we make things safer in the industry and surpass our competitors in that nature. Our filter is straight up, it's one single cartridge inside each. And to take that off, there's two tabs underneath. We turn this in a counterclockwise position, and it comes to a first unlocking position. So as you turn it 2 full circles, it stops and it locks. The reason for that is we disengage the O-ring, the lid from the O-ring. So if the pump turns on, the only thing that will happen is water will come out from the sides and get your feet wet. It won't disengage from the filter body and hit you in the face or damage. This just happened 2 weeks ago for a customer here in Texas that was taking off a competitor's lid. He turned off the pump. There's a homeowner, and the lid hit him in the face and apparently broke his jaw, ripped part of his face, and was injured because the pump turned back on. Ours will not do that. You can actually run a pump at full speed, and this lid will stay on its secondary locking position once it's separated from the O-ring. This happens in the market. I know it happened in Florida last year. I know you folks know that at Horner, and it's separated. Also, we don't use any tools, and we have I think it's under 5% fiberglass. This is all plastic and different kinds of plastic. So we don't get the fiberglass on our arms when we open up these containers and these lids and get fiberglass all over. Once you open the lid and it comes undone, the lid goes down to the side and you simply pull the cartridge out from the inside, and there's nothing inside of this filter. The only thing inside this filter is our core, which I'll show you in a minute, and the element. Once you put the lid back on, there's no other parts to break. Being in the field for many, many years, taking apart filters and finding broken pieces in there are always cumbersome. You have to run back to distribution and buy parts, and it slows people up. So once you take out the inside, there is zero head loss in this filter because it's just like a pipe running through. Our water comes in, our water goes up the side, and then it comes out and then goes out the other side. Water is not wasted as far as hydraulics. One of the things that we pride ourselves on with our pumps and our filters is hydraulic efficiency. If any of you have taken apart a cartridge filter or a DE filter and you take those elements out and they've been sitting there for 3, 4, 5 months running a dirty pool, and then there's clean spots on those cartridge elements. Everybody asks, how does that happen? How do you have a filter with media that has zero places on there that have received dirt and debris, and there's clean areas? The reason is because water goes in, it follows the path of least resistance, and it leaves. With our equipment, we force the path of least resistance so it can't go anywhere else but inside. We have less than, if you take this lid off and look straight down, our filter has less than a half an inch of clearance inside there. So the water can only go in one direction. That's where we get compliance. That's where we get safety. And that's where we get hydraulic efficiency when running our filters. This is a 200 square foot. This is a 250 square foot. However, this outperforms just like a 400 square foot cartridge filter against our competitors, or a 48 DE square foot. And this compares to a 500 square foot cartridge or a 60 square foot DE filter. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. The only complaint that we always get from our customers is when they take this off after 3 or 4 months and take the element out, the cartridge is completely full of dirt and it's heavy. And I tell people, you're welcome, because it did its job. And that's the biggest thing that we have is our hydraulic efficiency. So size isn't so much the issue with the filter, it's how much it actually filters and how efficient it filters. If you have a 400 square foot cartridge filter and you're only using 250, maybe 300 square feet, you're not using all of that. It's wasted energy and wasted space, and we've eliminated that. The locking safe collar release stays locked, and it prevents that human error that we were talking about. This ring stays on this dome. This dome, you can turn this around and you can spin this any way you want. So you can have the facing gauge and the air relief in any direction that you want, away from the equipment or a window or facing forward. So once you spin this on one time, you get to the first locking position, you can spin the dome and then continue it 2 more times to lock it down. So that's how our filter works. Again, there are 0 tools. The only thing you need is something to clean the filter element with. Pool guys, by the time pool pros take their filters apart and get the ring off, get the belly band off, take the lid off, we're already cleaning our filter. And that's one of the biggest things that we do with ours, along with the efficiency. As I showed you, the human error is taken off. Once this is released, it's released from the O-ring and the lid comes off. We have 2 models here. We have our 27,000, and these are rated for commercial, but they're actually higher for residential. So commercial pools, if you have a 27,000 gallon pool, my finger keeps moving, I apologize, on the other screen. So this is our 27,000 for commercial pools in a 6-hour turnover that's required here. And our 72,000 gallon filter, which is our 35,000. So you have a 27,000 PLF 27, PLF 35, commercial 27,000 in a 6-hour. Residential will do a 72,000 gallon pool, this little tiny filter. Our PLF 35,000, commercial will go to 35,000 gallons for commercial rating, and a 6-hour turnover capacity to turn that 35. Residential, this will do almost 100,000 gallon pool in an 8-hour turnover. So with what we can do with our filters and our hydraulic efficiency, we have 0 wasted energy inside this filter. So much that the word turnover is being looked at in the industry of, you have to get every gallon of water from the pool to the filter and turn back to the pool within 6 hours. And when you do that, you only have about a 40% cleaning cycle. If you do it again, you're going to get 80%, and 1/2 turn will be 100%. So you're looking at 18 hours to fully clean a pool indoors, nobody swimming, no outside elements, which is almost impossible. So we can do that a lot more efficient and a lot quicker with our systems. With one of the testing with the National Science Foundation based out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, is they're the ones that certify for commercial and residential compliance, mostly commercial here in the States, in Canada, and ANSI for the NSF 50 requirement. We boast this DE clarity. And real quick, and not to get too technical, the National Science Foundation takes everybody's filters and they take all the brands, all the sizes, and they have to be tested. And the only thing that they look at when they say square footage of a filter element is they take it apart, they unfold it, and what happens is they say, yep, you have a 200 or a 250 or a 400 or a 68 square feet, and they measure that. That's all they do. Then they take filters and they hook them up to a system, and they have a tank full of dirty water. That dirty water goes through the filter and it has to come out the other side. I think about 75 to 80% where the water is clean. And you have up to 5 times to do that, to run that water. So you take dirty water, run it through the filter, come out to another vat, and they measure the clarity, which is the clarity by the NSF. And what happens is you have to have 75% clean water. DE does that in one pass. Cartridge filters take 3, 4, and even sometimes 5 passes to get that same DE clarity. So we know sand does between 15 and 20 microns. Cartridges do about 12 to 15 microns for cleaning. DEs does 2 to 4. We're around the 6, 8. When they put our cartridge filter on that system to clean that water up to 70%, we did 60% of that 70%, meaning we were almost as much as a DE filter on clarity in one pass. So when you're trying to clean water in a turnover, what are we really trying to accomplish? And we're trying to accomplish clarity. Well, if you have a cartridge filter like our competitors, and it takes 4 to 5 turns to do the same clarity as one, they have to turn it over more. And that's where we're finding out with these systems and with our systems. We passed the turbidity test, the hydraulics cleanability, so much that the National Science Foundation called our owner Olaf, our president Todd, our engineers, and said, congratulations, you are the first cartridge filter that we have tested in the pool industry to pass the turbidity test in one pass. Nobody else has done that except DE. So that's why we say we're DE level clarity. This isn't us. We were surprised. This is the National Science Foundation that stamps everything. So that's one of the big things that we boast. Here's a simple chart. This chart shows our filter against flow rates. Here's our 200 and our competitors at their flow rates. And what happens is, so this shows our competitors' filters and where they have more head loss at lower rates. We can actually outperform based upon this curve at higher flow rates with less head loss, where our competitors on their 200 square feet, their 300, their 400, their 500, we perform them by almost twice as much when you're talking flow. When you turn on our pump and our filter, you have our filter on a system, our filter runs between 6 and 8 PSI. So I actually have a picture of a competitor's pump on our filter, and we're running at 3 PSI full speed on a single speed pump, which is crazy to do. And it's great because we show this to our customers, our performance level. Our core is on the middle. It runs up the middle of this. And we have a 64% bigger opening on our cores for water to flow through. That's one of the biggest things. Anything plastic that you see, we make and mold in our plant in Ventura, California, where we're based out of. So this is why we can fix this and change this. This was the original design. This is a secondary design, and all of this has lower requirements for the pump to work harder because water's flowing through this more efficiently. Therefore, you're saving energy, time, and money. The cartridge is proprietary. Pleatco makes this, and we have the proprietary design. Our elements are 1 per filter. Our tank that it sits in is a piece of 12-inch PVC pipe. That's all it is, and we put a sticker on the outside of it. And we go to the inside and we put the core in and we put this filter on. These pleats are about 2 inches deep. If you put your finger in there, it'll go all the way to your hand and your knuckle. And we have the pleats open more in here, so we have more water passing through without cramming the pleats together. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is we get up to 150 gallons a minute on our small one. We get 200 gallons a minute on our big one. There is not a cartridge filter out there from a 400 to a 500 that increases their gallons per minute. Why make a bigger filter if it's not able to handle more water? We've done that. So in our testing, we've superseded what the market and what the requirements are, and we can get more flow through our filters and higher flow in our bigger filters to satisfy that commercial setting for 150 plus gallons a minute. So that's one of the other things that we pride ourselves on. If you're going to make a bigger filter, bigger engine, so to speak, or a bigger way to capture dirt, you better get more water through that. And we've been able to do that. So that's one of the big things with our filters is the ease, simplicity, cost efficiency, size. The size of this is 2 feet on the bottom, and that's as big as your filter is going to be all the way up. And it's a 12-inch pipe. On that, we wrap it in a sticker, put another piece of plastic on the top in our lids, and we push it out the door. We don't have any complexity. We can make these however we want. The only two different parts in this filter between the two sizes is the tank height, so the piece of 12-inch PVC, and the core and the cartridge are 9 inches bigger. So this core, let me go back here. Whoop, come here. So here, this is a piece of 12-inch PVC. This is a piece of 12-inch PVC in diameter, and this is 36 inches. This one's 40, and all we do is make the core and the cartridge itself a little bit bigger. And it takes one more of these in this section to go from the smaller filter 27,000 to the 35,000. So when we want to make the other core, all we do is on the production line is put this one more on there and we're into our bigger filter. That's how easy and scalable. So when you order parts, it's all the same. And parts and customer service for us are huge. You have an issue, you call us, we take care of it. You get a hold of a rep. You could call me, and we can take care of things for you right away. We don't have to go through all kinds of paperwork. You can literally call up and send an email and get you a part. I had a guy run over his filter with his truck, and he called me and we sent him another one. Do we have to? No. He called humbly and said I ran over it and smashed it, so we sent him another one. I've been there, I feel his pain, so we took care of it for him. So that's kind of the stuff we do. So before I get into pumps, is there any questions with the filters that have come up? No? Okay. So is everybody can still hear me? Greg, can you still hear me?
Yes, all good. We can hear you.
Perfect. All right. I just want to make sure nobody fell asleep. Everybody take a drink of coffee and we're going to move on to our pumps. So one of the big things with our pumps is everything on here that's plastic, we make ourselves. We mold it. We have our own molding machines. So we literally made that wrench for that filter within a couple weeks. And we spent about $50,000 to make that little wrench just to put it on a filter because we're detailed and we're thinking about the service guy, and our owner got his knuckles banged up a little bit trying to get the filter wrench off by using a channel lock. So those are the kind of things that we do. We go after quality. If you've used our drains, you understand our quality compared to our competitors. Our unions and our collars right here are made in-house. We make the lid, we make the volute, we make the impeller, we make everything to do with this. We don't go to anybody else. Our motor is made in the United States. Our supplier that supplies our screws and our bolts, all US made materials. We even make these tabs. I say that because everybody says, what of this do you folks manufacture? Anything that's plastic that we have on our products, we make in-house. And that's the biggest thing that we pride ourselves on. We have 2 pumps. We have a 3-horse and we have a 1.5-horse pump. So PL for pipeline and then pumps, and then PLF for filters. So we have a PLP 300 for our pipeline 300 or 3-horse, and a PLP 150 indicating the 1.5-horse. We have variable speed drives. These are total enclosed fan-cooled motors. So these can sit outside. Ours has a rubber gasket down here, which insulates the motor from vibration, from hydraulic noise. Pumps don't really make a lot of noise. It's the hydraulics that makes the noise. It's like your car. Once you get in your car and you're at a cruising speed and you hit your cruise control on your vehicle, your car is a lot quieter than it is when you first take off at the light. If you drive the way I do, my car makes a little bit more noise than most at the light because I like to drive. So the same thing applies to pumps. So single speed pumps, they have one speed, you turn them on, they run. Variable speed pumps, as you folks know, which are mandatory now in the United States for filtration from under 1 horse, from 1 horse to 5 horse, you have to have variable speed pumps. So we've made this very quiet. One of the biggest compliments we get from our customers is we are able to be very quiet. People call and say, man, your pump is very quiet compared to our competitors. And the reason for that is this right here. And if you plumb it properly, we build this on a 2.5-inch volute. So we do not have threaded collars that go inside here where you can put a piece of CPVC. We don't want to interrupt that flow. This comes with 2-inch and 2.5-inch collars. So that's one of the big things that we do is the way it runs. Full speed, a lot of the problems with priming is once it runs, you can have water flowing too fast. You can't control the speed. The minute you start using valves, you're telling yourself your pump is too big. So people like to put valves on the discharge side and slow the pump down with single speeds. Well, now you're making the pump work harder and work at the same rate of speed, but it's costing more electricity. I'm not going to get into WEF ratings in the United States, but it's the same thing as slamming your foot on the accelerator on your car. Your car's not going any faster, but your transmission is running harder, causing you to use more gas, which in our industry, when you have the pump trying to push out water and it can't, it's running at a higher wattage, causing more electricity use, but you're not getting any more water flowing through it. You're not efficient. So variable speed pumps in the last few years have made a huge significant difference in total control. And where you folks are at, I'm not sure how much variable speed pumps are as far as usage, but if you have been using them, you can see the controllability with these and what people can do with water fountains and everything else. This is a simple chart. If you want to take a screenshot, I'll leave it up. This is in the United States. You cannot have faster than 6 feet per second on your suction, and you cannot exceed 8 feet per section. 8 feet per second on discharge return. The reason is because of safety and compliance and regulations. So a 2-inch piece of PVC, as you can see here, you can get up to 63 gallons a minute. You can get more out of a piece of 2-inch PVC, but it's not safe, and you can't exceed 84 gallons a minute. So when you start talking turnover, you start talking what size plumbing, people call me all the time and go, hey, I've got a pool that's this size. What size pump do I need? I don't know. What size plumbing are you putting in? Because then you're getting into drains, you're getting into the skimmers, and you're trying to get more water out of a smaller pipe. You can only get so much water out of a pipe, out of a straw, so much electricity out of a piece of wire, and so much air out of an HVAC system for your air conditioning or heating. So if you take a garden hose and hook it up to a spigot and you run it 50 feet, you'll get some good water pressure out of there. You start wanting to need more water, adding more hose at that size isn't going to help you out. You need a bigger hose to get the gallons per minute that you need. With variable speed pumps, you can adjust that. And people tend to buy a little bit bigger in fear of being undersized. And a lot of time having it too much can also cause damage. And that's one of the things with this is you can run this needle up and have high pressure and you have excessive flow and design. And what happens is when you start running water too fast through a system, you can start to cause problems. And when you cause problems, what happens is you start damaging equipment. You can strip out heater exchangers, your elements in your filters and your systems will start to bypass debris because it's going too fast. And what happens at that, you start introducing new safety problems on the filter, and you can get debris going back through because it cannot capture that when it's running too far. So the great thing with DE filters, sand filters, cartridge filters. The best thing about cartridge filters is you can capture the dirt with more efficiency on water. You can, with our pumps, you can slow down the speed and run that water when you don't need it running at 100% all the time. And cloudy water can become very clear running on pumps on lower speeds. One thing people like to do is, oh, I need to ramp it up, the pool's dirty. Actually, if you lower it and run it longer, not only does it save you more time and energy, you'll clean the water a little bit. You'll clean the water through the filters more efficiently on lower speeds, um, not always on a faster speed. And then you have excessive suction. You can't exceed pump suction limits. The pump is only going to put out so much water. It can put out more as long as you have the pipes that can handle that speed for the water and the gallons per minute that you need, as long as you're not exceeding federal requirements here in the States. So with that, our 3-horse and our 1.5 horse, they're exactly the same. The only thing that is different between these two pumps is the impeller. So the impeller inside is the only thing that's consistent between these two. Having a bigger pump, the motor is obviously a little bit more powerful, but the insides of this is the plastic. We just change out the impeller. So our pumps, there's programs, there's onboard scheduling. We also communicate, 4 programs on board. We have quick clean on here now, where you can walk up and override the system and push one button and adjust the speeds for a temporary reason for cleaning the pool, maybe a pool party, adding chemicals. Our freeze protection, we are one of the few on the market that during a freeze, we can actually turn the pump on along with warming the drive. Most of the other pumps on the market only turn on the drive. They do not start flowing water. We actually flow water through the system for 4 hours. It shuts down. It reassesses the temperature through the internal thermistor. And if the air temperature, water temperature is colder, the air temperature is colder than it should be, it turns the pump back on and starts turning the water. We have an RS-45 communication. We talk to everybody's automation, Pentair, Jandy, Hayward, the pool attendant. We also talk to the AquaCal heat pump through is it the pool sync device, Greg? The app?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did a video on Instagram, and we did it at one of the shows, and we went out to a job site with a customer that is with Step Into Swim and with Every Child's a Swimmer. And we did her pool, her swim school. And I actually, because I'd never hooked up to an AquaCal heat pump, I hooked up our pump. We got the Wi-Fi going, we got the app going, and through the AquaCal heat pump, you can select AquaStar as a pump selection. And if you want simple automation, that pool sync device worked fantastic. And we could turn on the pump and the heat pump and the chiller and make everything work. So we talked to everybody's automation that's out in the field. And not a lot of people can do that. So with that, we have a high efficiency volute. So in the industry, waters come in through the front and out through the top. And there used to be pumps that were very, very efficient, where the discharge was off to the side of the pump. So the water came in and went off to the side. We started doing that, and we scrapped it after a year, 2 years. Olaf in our company spent about $150,000 developing a pump. They put it on the desk. They were ready to make it and print it, and they threw it in the trash and started over. That's the detail. One of the things that they did is they took this discharge idea in the design that came out the side, which is very efficient. And all we did was rotate the entire volutes design to make it go out the top like normal. With that, there is zero wasted space. We kind of have like a cornucopia shell inside this filter, or inside this pump, that when water comes in, it makes one turn in the cycle and it goes out the top. With our competitors, it spins inside that volute, and it's wasted energy, and then it finally makes its way out. Again, water follows path of least resistance, like the Grand Canyon in Arizona, and it's very corrosive. It's very effective in destroying anything that's around it, heaters, pumps, salt systems, you name it. So we made that design to not only be safe, but to be efficient, but to get more life out of the volute. and make that water go in and make that water go out efficiently. We run at half to a third of speed with our competitors, at this energy at the same speed. And when we outperform that, meaning we can run same RPM, gallons a minute at less energy. And we've tested that, and we have been continuing to test that against our competitors. Our basket is very large. It handles a lot of debris, and it's very strong. One of the things I do at trade shows is I hand the collar here to customers and let them feel that quality against our competitors. And we do the same with our basket. And I hand this to guys that are big like me, and I say, squeeze this thing, and they can't. The basket is so sturdy that we wanted to make that. We added the ridge up here, so when guys tap this on the ground, it doesn't crack. These are the little details that you see here, where our thickness, our reinforced neck on here at the top. These aren't big things that are going to sell, but we've spent tens of thousands of dollars making little tiny adjustments to our products so they can be more durable and stand up in the harsh market of pool pros. Our flow rate, I know this is a chart, and the only thing I want you to see is at very high gallons a minute, we have very low feet ahead against our competitors when you're talking water movement, and that's huge. Feet ahead is anything that's restricting the water to leave the system and to get out into the pool. And our pumps run at very high gallons per minute against our competitors and what we do. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on with the efficiency. It's a rare earth permanent magnet motor. It's a totally enclosed fan cooled. It's proprietary to us. We have a 2.5-inch flow through. So if you take this collar off and look inside, there's no threads on the inside of the nipple in there or the discharge top. We do not want people taking CPVC and Schedule 80 pipe and putting in there and immediately restrict that flow. We want that flowing through, and we give you a 2-inch collar and a 2.5-inch collar. That's why when people say, how is your pump more efficient than anything that we've put on? Because we're taking customers from all of our competitors very slowly and very quickly. I say slowly to have them try it, because nobody likes new. And once they get it, that's all they're installing. And the one thing that it is the design of this volute. Has nothing to do with the motor in the back. It has everything to do with the volute. We can put anybody's motor on the back and it'll be just as efficient. It's all that design with our impeller, our diffuser, and this design back here with how the water comes in and how it's discharged out of the system. A pump is a pump in the variable speed market. Where we have surpassed our competitors is the design, the quietness, the efficiency, consumption of energy, which is what everything is regulated here in the United States by the WEF rating. And that simply means how much power does it take to move water. And again, compare that to your car. Taking off from a light or cruising at a cruising speed, you can be at the same miles per hour, but your transmission runs less. We want less transmission or less motor and get that cruising speed. And that's what we do once it starts running. But we are limited to the design of the pool and how it's built. So there's two types of ozone in the market. There's UV, which is ultraviolet through a light bulb. Water passes around it, the air passes around it, and it creates ozone. Or corona discharge. And we use corona discharge because for a few reasons. One, it's more effective, very effective against UV with using the light. UV is great, but you have to maintain it. You got to replace the light bulb every so many hours, depending upon the competitor. They become very, very expensive, and you have to clean them periodically. With corona discharge, this is like a zapper, right? Like a bug zapper or a taser. So what happens is everybody here is in the world of lightning after a rainstorm or during a rainstorm. So ozone is simply an oxygen molecule. So you have H2O, hydrogen, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. We have water. H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide that we all have in our cabinets in our house. So that makes the bubbles. O3 is oxygen, and that's ozone. And when electricity hits water, it produces ozone, and it's very quick, it's very volatile, and it's effective to clean the water and the air around it very fast. So during a rainstorm, if you go outside and it's raining and you have lightning, and after the rain slows down, you go outside and you smell that clean air, that's ozone. That's what that is. So lightning hits the water droplets and it takes the oxygen molecule and exponentially splits that into three and that into three and that into three and so on. And that's how oxygen is made. So it's one more oxygen molecule, which is natural in water. So when you're doing ozone, the purpose of ozone, you still need a sanitizer like any type of chlorine and tabs or liquid, whatever you use to kill algae, which ozone does not kill. What ozone does is make chlorine more effective when it's in the pool. And how that happens is if you have a bunch of algae in a corner or you have issues, the chlorine you put in the pool has to break through all the suntan lotions, the sunblocks, and all that other dirty stuff, and the kids peeing in the pool, and it locks up that chlorine. And by the time the chlorine gets to that algae, it's not effective. So what ozone does, it breaks up all the ammonia and all the contaminants around the chlorine molecule, breaks that open so the chlorine can go right and do its job. When you do that, you can use less chlorine in a pool. You turn down your salt systems, you turn down your chlorine. And what happens is it makes that all go away so the chlorine is effective in the pool. So when you walk into an enclosed area and you smell chloramines, man, it smells like chlorine in here. The problem with that is the chlorine's in the pool, but it's not working. It's like employees in a room. You could have 10 employees in a room and only 3 of them are working. Free and available chlorine is only the 3 that are working. So what are the other 7 molecules of parts per million of chlorine doing? What are the other 7 employees doing? Well, ozone walks over and knocks it upside the head and says, hey, you 7, chlorine molecules out in here, get to work. Once that happens with ozone and it makes that chlorine more effective, you don't need 10 parts per million. You only need 3 or 4 or 5. So you can turn down your chlorine and send those other employees and chlorine home and use them later. So that's the simplest way to explain ozone in a pool. And once you introduce it into a pool, it starts to make the pool water clear. It makes it safer and it gets rid of the contaminants very fast in a pool, faster than chlorine, up to 50 to 100 times faster than chlorine is ozone. So you don't need ozone in a pool, but you need ozone in a pool to make the chlorine more effective and work faster and do its job. And it has zero issues with anything else. It doesn't mess with your water chemistry. It doesn't mess with any other chemicals that you're using. It's simply adding more oxygen into the pool. It's an oxidizer, just like sodium monopersulfate, which is a non-chlorine shock. That's the same thing. It's breaking open the contaminants around chlorine. So when you put non-chlorine shock into a pool with sodium monopersulfate, that turns around potassium monopersulfate. Potassium monopersulfate, it gets rid of all of the contaminants around that chlorine and lets it go work. And it gets rid of those chloramines. So what we did with our system is this is zero maintenance. We don't want any maintenance. We don't want you to open this up. We don't want you to get inside of it. We give you the same collars that are on the pump. It produces up to 1 gram an hour. It's very, very fast install. You go up to the pipe. We go up to the pipe. We give you a spacer that's used for new pools and maybe where they winterize in the off season. You go up to the pump or the pipe. You cut it here. You cut it here. You glue the collars on. You take this ball. It's about the size of a basketball or a soccer ball, and you turn the collars. You install it, and you take the cord and you plug it into a wall. That's it. It's a 10-minute installation. The things that we did with this when they started building this, when we were designing this 5-6 years ago, is we wanted it to be non-maintenance. We wanted to be the computer and everything inside a container. We wanted to be self-cleaning, which it does. So when the pump turns off, there's a piston that goes in and cleans a Mazy injector, and it holds it. When the pump turns back on, it exits itself, and that port is clean. Nobody does that. So it's self-cleaning, self-maintaining. There's a light on this star that's an indicator. So it pulses on and off when it's producing ozone. And then this also has codes. If there's 10 different codes that it flashes to tell you what's going on with the system. And the best thing about this, it's the most least expensive ozone system on the market. It's the fastest install for a plug-in. A lot of areas don't even need a license to install this because you're not doing anything electrical. So there's a lot of states here that don't need a license with this. And what happens is that water goes in through the system. It goes through, I know this is complex. The water comes in, the injector is here. This is the vacuum switch. And then the piston cleans this and the air goes in the corona tube and the water goes through this tube. It comes out. And then you have on the other side, you have ozone being produced. So zero maintenance on this. We don't want anybody getting into this. If something goes wrong, we send you another one. And we want those back because we've had some things where people have put them in different environments, different ways, and they have broken it. And we, even though they break it, we want it back. We want to see what we can do because we know it'll happen again. A couple things with this is only for residential. Here's the piston to clean this. This is only residential install, not commercial, because there's no off-gassing chamber. And with the system, it comes with everything that you need, the cord, the spacer, and it goes into the pool and you get bubbles out of the jets. So you know the ozone is being produced, or champagne bubbles. So this is the spring where the piston goes up in the Mazy injector when the water comes in and it cleans it and then it goes out. The best thing about this is nobody does corona discharge any different than the next person. I don't care what brand you have. The thing that we took away is the computer and the everything that they hang on the wall, and then hoses come down into the pipe, and you have all these complex systems, and they are very expensive and they take a long time to install. What we also did was made it self-cleaning. We made it self-cleaning. We made it, we had the light on there to tell you what it's doing and what it's not doing. And then we also have the ability to have anybody install it. When we put that all together, we put that into a ball about the size of like I said, a soccer ball, and you don't have to worry about it. This produces up to 1 gram an hour, so about 24 grams in 24 hours. And this goes from 20 gallons a minute to 150 gallons a minute. And you can have it anywhere in that range, and it'll produce the same amount of ozone. So whether you have it running at 30 or 40 or 100, we can run that. Can you run it 150 gallons a minute? Sure. Do we want to? No. Like you can run your car at 5,000 RPM, but that's probably not the best thing you want to do. So some people over 80 or 100 gallons a minute will make an external bypass, but you're not required to, and it's not going to damage the system anything. The other thing with this is being the gram an hour and the 20 gallons a minute, all of our competitors can make ozone at high rates of speed of water. We're the only ones that can do it at the low speed of 20 gallons a minute. And that's where we exceed. And our competitors are looking at what we've done. And every time at every show, the engineers from our competitors come up and go, this thing's working, it's great. So we've got the maintenance beat. There's no maintenance on this. We produce everything inside one ball. All the computer, all the diagnostics, all of the elements are inside of this system. And you plug it into a wall, and it's the least expensive corona discharge ozone system on the market. I appreciate Horner, you folks doing this. This is, I would do this all day long. I do at trade shows, and everybody that's on here personally and from AquaStar, really appreciate you folks taking time out to learn. And again, if you have anything else, do not hesitate to give me a buzz.
Right. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, folks.
All right.